Welcome in everybody to a Monday night edition of the show. And yes, the Gremlins are out tonight. So welcome in everybody. Joe Quills here. Let's see. The music files that are usually there when I start the show and I play that non-copyrighted music, that did not show up. I had to search for it. Then it started playing a second time, which it usually doesn't do. So it's one of those Mondays. It's a manic Monday. Whoa, must. But anyways, welcome in everybody, and hope everybody's having a great night out there. Got a lot to talk about tonight, and yes, I'm going to be yelling at clouds, so to speak. A lot of that's related to Saturday. We'll get into that. Uh, yeah, about the King's Plate card that we worked so hard on for Saturday's also eligible show, and Austin Riley's out, NFL news, and the return of the stupid shit I saw segment. I saw a story here that I'm hoping that SJ will get over here tonight because she's gonna like the story because she's gaming right now, and no problem. I don't have a problem with anybody not being able to get here right at 9 o'clock on the dot or 9:02 or 9:03 whenever you got that alert tonight because things happen and I had to adjust some things on YouTube for the start here, but we're all set, ready to go, and hopefully things won't get too crazy here tonight. But we're here and gonna have some fun here on this Monday night. Back to a 3-day work week in terms of Twitch, YouTube, and on X. The Wednesdays will be coming up in a couple of weeks when the Bleacher Brothers digital a digital network and app starts up on September the 9th. And once September the 9th comes around, I encourage you to download it. I will be reminding you, and it'll be probably on the scroll as well. Try to fit it into the 200 characters that EV Mux gives me as well. So, um, but we're here, and I am lounging a little bit just to show that even though I got the Phillies hat on, I do not have a Phillies powder blue shirt on because I despise powder blue in baseball. I just think there's a reason why we got rid of it, and that's because the people that introduced people to it were high as a kite. And Bank Boy, welcome in. So, welcome in, Bank Boy. Hope you're doing well out there. And we'll get to it here. Um, so Saturday was an interesting day for me. Um, Ended up doing nothing I had planned to do. Well, nothing in terms of like things I need to get done around the apartment and stuff like that. But I did end up playing the horses, and this is part of the yelling at clouds segment because um, we were on also eligible on Saturday, and just to let you know, also eligible is available on the um, Bleacher Brothers network of Bleacher Brothers network of platforms, Facebook, X, and YouTube. And I forgot to ask AJ um, about the Twitch situation because the one thing we could do, um, see, I don't know because he has me on his account, the Bleacher Brothers account as a collaborator, so he sets up the page and I just go do whatever. But um, we looked at 3 or 4 races. I wrote articles for 5, and the races got canceled. But what really sucked, and if SJ was here right now, she could attest to this. Um, I caught fire at Woodbine. I mean, it didn't matter how hard the rain poured down in Toronto. I was on fire. And now, the one thing is, if you were to see my notebook, and first of all, if you can read my handwriting, hallelujah, praise the Lord, congratulations. But I have a little system for um, when I actually play a full race card. And the one thing I do is, even if I'm not playing pick fours and pick fives, and even with Woodbine with the 20-cent minimums for their pick four and pick five, I didn't want to play it because I only had so much money in the account. And I'm figuring, okay, well, I just put $50 in my TVG the night before. I figured, okay, well, let me see if I can hit the first race, which I did. Then it went to, okay, well, what about the second race? I hit that and I hit the double. And of course, the race after the first race of the pick five is done, that's when I have the money to play it. So I can't play it now. Um, so I had winners in 4 of the 5 races, or 3 of the 5, maybe 4. I don't know. And I had a, and I was 4 for 4 on the pick five. And what I do with the pick five is I pick like 2 or 3 horses, or if I'm lucky enough to say, okay, this horse is a deadlock, nobody's being this horse, that's my single. So I don't even know what the price, I don't even know what it would have cost because I didn't figure it out. I just wanted to see how sharp I am with Woodbine because I haven't even played Woodbine much this year. So they had one delay after the first race, and rightfully so, because after the first race, it started pouring, it was thundering and lightning, and you tell everybody to get inside, even the fans. Um, if you're at a baseball game, they'll tell you, all right, take cover. This storm is dangerous. You don't want to be out there with the lightning, all that stuff, and they'll post on the video boards, get in under cover. Um, so you had to wait about a half an hour. So I ended up, you know, waiting and waiting. Finally, the second race won. My horse won. I hit the double, got about 80 some bucks back. I'm all right. I'm ahead about $100. That's good. Got money for the rest of the day. So I think it was after the first race. SJ goes, "Oh, let's watch the races." Okay. So she's seeing me and she's seeing I'm winning, and yeah, that's a rare thing because I'm never that hot at the beginning of a card like that, especially a big card like that where um, you're running, a lot of the top horses on the grounds, an occasional shipper, as it's called, where you're going from one track to another. Um, but I had like 3 or 4 winners in the first 5 races, and then there was another delay. and it's going to lead to the second part of this story here. So, um, now I wish they ran the sixth race because if they did, I could say, "Oh, good, my horse lost in the pick five, so I lost money, or I would have lost money." Instead, because of all the weather, um, and they had another hour-long delay. Um, it turned out it was they decided, all right, we're going to cancel. Okay, I don't have a problem with it because there's some things that I found out over time that you know whatever. So, and I'll get to some of those things as well. But um, so the track announcer, in his Australian voice, said, races are canceled. The King's Plate will be rescheduled. Blah blah blah. Okay. So then, because I'm a glutton for punishment, I look at the pick five payout because they would pay out for the first four races of that five race sequence, and that last race would be an all. So basically, what that means is if you had two horses in that final leg of the pick five, like I did, you would get the amount times two. If you had three horses, times three. If you had four horses selected in that final race, times four. That sort of thing. So I look and I said, I'm a fucking idiot. SJ goes, why? I said, well, that pick five I did not play because I didn't have the money in the account. I would have gotten almost $600 back because the pick five for those four races and then the all paid $297 and change per combination. So I'm like, oh shit. So, but I'm not worried about because I've done worse. I mean, the one time I went to visit my dad last year, I think he was at the hospital at the time. And I said, just to let you know, I'm playing the horses today. I'm just playing to win because I want to see how I'm doing, with some of the wagers I do because he knows I love to play the pick fours, and also I'm kind of into the pick fives, but I'm not really too much into it. Like I'll definitely play a pick five, especially at parks when it's a mandatory distribution, and you've seen those articles a few times already. But I ended up that day last spring of 23. I ended up I could have had a $900 to $1,000 pick five at parks. So it. I mean, I'm not complaining. It's just like, okay, well, I know I'm sharp. So probably means when Woodbine runs again on Thursday, if I chose to play on Thursday or I chose to play on Friday while I'm working, I'm probably going to be ice cold because this is usually a 1 day thing where you're boom, 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 boom. But um, so you could tell that was like an old man, like back in our day, we would run through this shit, stuff like that. But but the way things are now, safety is um, utmost importance. And the one thing is, because I was on my X account, Twitter account, whatever you want to call it, I still call it Twitter. It's kind of like Billy Joel. It's still rock and roll to me. But I was trying to see what was going on with Woodbine. So Woodbine search, and you can search for the latest tweets, and after a while, you're just seeing it's just another delay. And so, according to some guy I commented on, because he said, "Oh yeah, track is canceled. I don't know why," but I think, but my suggestion was part of the reason why, now I didn't say it was the whole reason why. Part of the reason why that they canceled that race is because um, the horses up in Canada run on Lasix, even in stakes races, whereas stakes races in the United States, most jurisdictions do not run on Lasix. They run drug free. And Lasix is a drug that prevents bleeding in the lungs when they're exerting the pressure of running. So, um, so I know from years ago when I would look at like harness tracks for different things I was doing just for looking for any type of an edge when I was playing the horses. I actually found the one track what's called the LASIK schedule. And um, what they would do is about maybe about 4 hours before the race, they would inject the solution or drug or whatever you want to call it. They inject it into the horse. Takes a couple hours to go through the system, and they're ready to go for the race. So that's why they do it. Um, but I suggested, well, maybe because of this, because of the LASIK schedule, because if you have if you give the horses Lasix, then but it also dries the horses out when they're done racing, so that you got to you know replenish their fluids and make them meat and stuff like that, replenish everything. So um, guy says, no, there were holes in the track and blah blah blah. Well, I did see the track after one of the major storms. Well, one of the major waves of the storm went through, and they did have ponding all over the track. And you take as much rain as they took, that synthetic surface will not drain as well because of the deluge and the amount of water that it took. So I get what he was saying now. I got what he was saying with like different pictures I saw and stuff like that, but you know, so I didn't totally disagree with him, and thankfully, never it didn't go anywhere where it's like, dude, you're a bleeping idiot or anything like that. You know, I basically said, well, I think it was a myriad of things, including what you're mentioning. I don't think it's just one thing. I think it's everything coming together to do that. So, but nonetheless, that's what. See, and that leads to the second half of the King's Play card, social media being a necessary evil, is because, um, I mean, we know it with American politics right now, where you know I still read what they say, but the one thing is I'm not getting involved in any political post of any kind because I don't want to deal with it. Um, I mean, I can't tell you how many times in 2020 I had to block one guy. I had to block one guy on um, my Facebook because I'm talking about something sports related. It had nothing to do with politics, and all he goes is MAGA, as in Make America Great Again, as we all know. So I start doing my typical thing, which I do. And if the Democrats were saying something similar that was along the lines of MAGA and all the stuff that Trump says, if the Democrats were saying something like that, I would do that as well. And I even said, I think it was during 2016, when I'm making fun of everything that I could find about the Republican convention. And I said at the end of the convention, or near the end of the convention, I said, just to let you guys know, I'm an equal opportunity offender. If I can find anything Democrat that I can joke around with, I will do that as well. So, and I think I did. But, but the thing is, um, I'm not someone who's going to talk politics. I'm going to keep everything close to the vest. And if you don't like that I'm not talking about politics, oh well, nothing I can do. But but I mean, we're back getting in that period of the year where Twitter, Facebook, Threads, whatever you use, is going to be a rotting cesspool of social media for the next couple of months until we have who will take over for Joe Biden as president. And thankfully, I didn't get dragged into a situation where you get into this rotting cesspool of, well, they closed the track, they canceled the races because of this, they canceled the races because of that, you know. And the one thing I agreed with him is, not only is it the one thing, the thing that you're mentioning, because he said he was there at Woodbine. He said that they were trying to repair the track and things like that. So okay, I'm not going to argue that. And I told him, I said, I'm watching here, and I had the volume down because, SJ and I were talking in chat the whole time. I'm telling her like different things, horse racing wise, I look at it, things like that. So we're going through all that. And, I'm just trying to, show her a couple of things, show her like different things with the racetracks and stuff like that. So I didn't hear anything, but I mean, I'm appreciative that he says that it is track related. If there were holes, and so be it. If there's not, I'm not going to hold it against him. But but like I said before, if it's something totally hijacking the topic at hand, then I'm not going to tolerate it. But a lot of these, but the thing is, social media is a necessary evil for me because I need to get my stuff out to you guys. I need to I need to stream on the X so I can try to get some viewers to grow this brand, especially with the Bleacher Brothers Network starting up in a couple of weeks. I like being on Twitch because I have friends on there, and who knows? You never know who's going to drop by. I mean, even with the Also Eligible show on Saturday, we were on the Bleacher Brothers YouTube, the Bleacher Brothers Facebook, and the Bleacher Brothers X. Um, and AJ, because I'm focused. I'm Whenever I'm on that show, I'm focused on my screen, and that's it. I pay more attention to my chat on this show, and I have two screens going right now. I have a screen going where I have the stream manager for Twitch, so that if I have to snooze somebody or ban somebody, I can do that. Or if it's somebody chatting, boom, it's on here. And the chat that I have for EVMux is an aggregator, so I will have X, YouTube, and Twitch all going at the same time, and I can reply to all three, or I could just answer through my microphone here. So, but it is a necessary evil because even with all the political bullshit that's out there, and trust me, it's 2.5 more months of this, and once November comes around, uh, we will hopefully be free of all this stuff. And I'm not saying you know if Trump wins or whatever, just give me an opportunity on Tuesday night to say, whew, we don't have to worry about waiting a week or 2 weeks, or even with 2000 with Bush and Gore, where they were they were in and out of the courts to the middle of December when finally Gore said, that's enough, you know, whatever. But but the one thing is, part of the reason why I don't, with social media being a social necessary evil to me, and you have all the toxicity of the presidential election going on right now, and it's only going to get worse between now and November, beginning of November, when we go to the polls. But you know, I'm not going to tolerate um, any. major political posts, like, you know, or MAGA this or Kamala that, or Kamala. I say Kamala because of Kamala the Ugandan giant, but um, but I'll have to talk to my mods because basically I'm just gonna say you could just delete the post, but don't ban them. But if we get to the point where we have to start snoozing and banning people because of something like that, then we will. But I just want to let you guys know today, the next couple of weeks before we go onto the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network and after, we're pretty much going to be politically free and politically, away from all the political BS that's out there because I want to create a safe haven for you guys that we can talk. We can talk sports and I can share some stupid shit that I saw, which I will give you at the end of the night where you're going to say, holy crap. You're going to say, holy shit. So, but I understand the how social media works for the most part, and we will get this all squared away. So if you're, I have no problem talking, and a lot of times I'll be the judge of what is said because I may still see the comment on my EV Mux of what you may say if it's political and they snooze it or delete it or whatever. I still will comment if I feel like I can try to talk about something without it turning into a right wing fest or a left wing fest because the main reason why I don't talk about politics is and why especially Twitter is a rotting cesspool and why I called it necessary evil is because those if you say something that leans to the left just the shortest bit, everybody on the right gets pissed off. And then if you go slightly to the right, everybody on the left gets pissed off because we're no longer it's no longer a political system for the most part that meets at the middle and does what's best for the country. It's I got to do what's best for my party. I got to do what's best for my party. And it's not anything like let's come together. So, and I don't want this channel, this show to be a right wing fest or a left wing fest. We're not here to talk politics. We're not here to discuss that. We're here to talk sports, pop culture, whatever comes up, and also stupid stuff that I see, which we'll do at the end of the show. So, so, um, so yeah, I was, kind of yelling at clouds, you mother, and but the Kings plate's going to be on Friday. Um, and Mike is here as well. And we have forgotten to have a mature conversation. Exactly. And the one thing with me is, hi, Mike. Um, but the one thing is with me, I just don't want to deal with anybody's crap. I deal with enough crap with my real job from 11:30 to 7:30. I don't want to deal with crap here. So, so that's the reason why. Um, Even though I'll probably say it a million more times between now and November, we're not going to be talking politics. So, and I mean, and none of the meetings. I've never had a meeting with my mods. It's just my whole comments, and my comments are usually while they're here in chat. It's just like let them go, or I don't care. I don't. I mean, they know what they're doing, and we go from there. So, but you know, so I got red hot at the start of Woodbine, and the weather cooled me off as they canceled the card after the fifth race. And all that typing I did on Friday night basically went to naught because the first race that they were going to have that the next race that they were going to have was the first of the races that I had handicapped for Bleacher Brothers. So between Bleacher Brothers and also eligible, we did a whole lot of nothing. But Woodbine will be doing that on Friday, and just to give you a heads up, um, only because Mike is aware of, for example, the Pennsylvania Derby coming up next month on September 21st, I believe, whatever that Saturday is. Um, Now I'm working on this Saturday, which is the kind of a uh, Pennsylvania Derby preview day. They have 5 or 6 stakes races on the card for the 10 race card. You got the Catherine Sophia Stakes, which is a prep for the Grade One Cotillion, and you had the Smarty Jones, which is the prep race for the Pennsylvania Derby. And I'm not sure if it's the same conditions as last year. I know last year the last three, the top three horses got entries, free entry into the Cotillion and Derby. Now, I have to look at the condition book on Equibase, and trust me, I was on Equibase this morning looking at the race for Assiniboia Downs because there was a horse that I felt should not have been in the race that I handicapped, and because I basically said, this is a scratch horse, this should be a scratch horse, and blah blah blah. I said, but we don't know what the other conditions are because it's not in the text of the description of the race. It's not in the. I mean, actually, this race wasn't even in the condition book for today. I think what they did was they made a flip the races around here and said, okay, well, they went to the people that were entered their horses. What if we do it on Monday instead of Tuesday? Let's say, do whatever you want. So, but that race goes off at 11:05 tonight. I'm hoping I'm done before then, but I think what may happen is it may end up being around 11:30 because they tend to run a couple of minutes late off of each post, and it adds up after a while. So, but but keep an eye out because I'm going to be writing the article for tomorrow tonight after the show. The Daily Racing Forum put in a race um, for Assiniboia Downs, which was a 5 horse field. And, me and Mike had that discussion here a couple of weeks ago about, is it easier for a 5 horse field or not? I find it's harder because, you don't have, because all the tendencies that these horses have from time to time don't mean squat because, you turn it into a tactical race as opposed to just letting the horses do their thing. But tomorrow, I have decided with the committee of one, which is yours truly, I have decided to go away from the daily racing forum because I know a few places where I can get free programs. I am going to give you guys the finger tomorrow. And what is the finger? Finger Lakes Racetrack. I did find a race that was very interesting um, on their card that I'm going to handicap for you guys tonight. So hopefully we can go 2 for 2 with me giving you the finger. So, and hopefully it won't be a horse that gets bet down from 6-1 to 4-5. So, but it happens. But so so just give you guys a heads up in regards to that. So we're done that opening segment here. Um, and when the Bleacher Brothers segment, the digital network comes on, I would probably break to a commercial right here. If not, uh, yes, that finger, not this finger, not the daddy finger, Finger Lakes. But um, but yeah, so um, yeah, and I probably would have to tighten that opening segment up a little bit as well, because if we have commercials to deal with, come September 9th, then I'm going to try to go to break at the top and bottom of the hours if that's what we do, that sort of thing. So, but we don't have any commercials tonight, so I can ramble on all I want. So, Phillies rebounded from that loss on Tuesday to the Marlins. They won that second game. I will tell you that Kyle Schwarber probably saved the season. Um, Phillies won the first three games with Washington, and then they lost yesterday. And WIP, which I try not to be the sports radio in Philadelphia because want to try to make you guys think, start a conversation, whatever. But the one thing is with WIP, and I understand what they were saying here, and I kind of agree with them, but I think that what you got to do is you got to realize that there's more in play than having a 7-game lead in the division. And there were two chances that um, the Phillies could have pinch hit Bryce Harper in a situation in the ninth inning, and they could have followed it up with JT Realmuto. Now, when you hit into the double play in the ninth inning, then fuck it, just let Stubbs hit, and maybe you get lucky, you get a base hit, and then you can pinch hit if you, depending on where you are in the order, because you could just fill in somebody wherever, move the new guy Stevenson around. So, and apparently, Steve Jeltz, the former Phillies legend, hashtag sarcasm, he said pinch hitting after sitting around all day isn't that taxing of a thing. Now, but back in Steve Jeltz's day, you didn't have a batting cage underneath the stadium like you do now. So a lot of times you just have to, sometimes you may go back there in the eighth inning and say, hey, if you need me, take a swing. And some people were questioning um, Bryce Harper for saying, up your butt, Joe Boo. I'm swinging here. And you still had the people that you can move people around. But in some regards, you might have had to play around with some things that were, a little tough because you had Stevenson in the outfield, and do you really want Harper to play the outfield and stuff like that because he's a first baseman now? But you know, WIP was criticizing um, Rob Thompson because he says if he's giving a guy a day off, he's giving them a full day off. He's not going to have them pinch hit late in the game. Now, there's situations where you might need to, but I think that with the day off today, it's like, all right, well, if you give him a day off today, then it's 2 days off in a row. And with JT, it's a day game after a night game that you're doing with him. So you do have that. But, and I understand WIP's stance, and I understand Rob Thompson's stance, but I think if you're going to criticize Rob Thompson for the move, and rightfully so if you're on that bandwagon, if you're going to criticize Rob Thompson, I think that he needs to realize, and he might, I don't know, I'm not going to question him because, I think he knows more about baseball. He's forgotten more baseball than I've known, and I know a lot of baseball. I think that he, even though he's analytic, he does take chances, and he decided I'm not going to let those guys hit today. Okay, no problem. But I just think that you're starting to get to the time of the year with about 6 weeks left in the season, and that 6 weeks is a big thing with that story that's coming up here about um, Austin Riley. So that story is going to come up in a moment. Um, you know, I think you're starting to get to the point where if you're going to give somebody the day off, they need to realize I may need you in the late innings if we're in a close game. So I hope not to use you, but be ready just in case. You know, if you feel like Harper needed to go to Rob Thompson and say, "Let me hit." Now, I still think because Harper had a back problem earlier in the year, I'm just wondering if maybe his back is still bothering him because of the fact that there are some cases where he hasn't been running out the ball to first base as much. And I don't think that's not wanting to hustle as some guy that was in the booth in the third inning named Jimmy Rollins. I think that if, like, especially this time of the year, I just wonder if it's aches and pains that are preventing Harper from doing that. But that's just me questioning a little bit and speculating. And, I don't have any insiders. And if I am correct with, some thoughts like that, then so be it. I mean, I've only had one bit of inside information, and I mentioned it on SJ's Discord chat last night. I told her about the time that um, I got a tip from Mike Abadir uh, January before um, the January before um, Harper signed with the Phillies. He said it's a done deal, but you're still going to go through the roller coaster of the next few weeks, and he will eventually sign with the Phillies. He did sign with the Phillies, but I was like, that motherfucker's going to San Francisco or LA, isn't he? But he ended up coming to Philly, and and we love him here. I think even though we all love him, I do think that we can question within reason. And if you feel that he's injured, maybe he's got a little back problem that's going on there, or maybe something else, or just the normal aches and pains of a full major league season, you know, that's okay. But if you're going to say something that's totally asinine, we will silence you. But, and I don't want to do that on Twitch. But I do think there is a possibility there may be something going on there. And, you do have opportunities to get therapy every chance you can get. It's like every time you come into the stadium every day, it's like, can you rub my back a little bit, or or you can get an MRI for something and try to do it on the down low, things like that. But one guy who did get an MRI today, and this should help the Phillies because the Atlanta Braves have been decimated by injuries. I mean, just to name a few off the top of my head. Um, Ronald Acuna, he's out for the year. He blew out his knee. Uh, Orlando Arcia, he's out for another month. Spencer Strider's out for the year. A couple other players are out for the year. And also now added to the list is Austin Riley. And I will tell you one thing with what happened with Austin Riley. The Phillies have gotten very lucky with injuries this year because there have been 4 or 5 incidents just like what happened to Austin Riley, and nobody broke their hand or wrist. But Austin Riley is out for 6 to 8 weeks, which probably is the rest of the regular season with a fractured hand. He was diagnosed today. The team announced an MRI confirmed the injury. He got hit with a 97-mile-an-hour pitch from LA Angels pitcher Jack, Polish last name. I'm not even going to attempt it. Since I don't have any uh, people the generation or two above me, before me, helping me with pronouncing that name, we'll just say Jack, Polish guy. And no, my luck, he's probably not even a Polish guy. Um, and Mike has a good point here. As much as I don't like the Atlanta Braves, I don't wish what has happened to their team on nobody. You know, I mean, the only thing I don't like about the Atlanta Braves is, they hot dog around the bases like they've never done something before. But it's a lot of what they do in baseball now. I mean, even the Phillies do their little thing when they get a base hit. All right, I kind of get it. And Nick Castellanos during the playoffs last year was giving everybody the finger, but it was the ring finger and not the other finger. And people are like, no, you can't do that. No, I'm doing this, but it's still close enough to the middle finger. But but the Braves have been decimated with injuries, and the farm system isn't what it used to be for the Atlanta Braves as well. So they are hittable, and you may have an opportunity to put the nail in the Atlanta Braves coffin in terms of the division. Now, you may end up having to face them in the playoffs, just like they have in the last 2 years, where the roles will be the reverse, possibly, where the Phillies may be the team hosting the wild card team as the number one seed right now. Now, the Braves are in the last playoff spot, 2 games behind the Mets. And I think it was Jack Johnson on X today. He said, you know, is it over if the Phillies sweep the Braves? And I said no. And the reason why I said no is there's still 5, 6, 7 games with the Mets, however many games there are. This is a nail that you can put in the Braves' coffin, but you still got the Mets lurking around. The whole grimace thing turning into whatever, and hopefully the Hawk Tua girl did a Hawk Tua on their playoff chances because she threw out the first pitch last week, and uh, even though her 15 minutes of fame should have been up 15 minutes ago, she can Hawk Tua me as well. Uh, but anyways, you know, but um, but I think Austin Riley did have an injury at the start of the year because his numbers are not when you look at them and don't realize they have been injured because he was out for a while at the start of the year, I believe. He was hitting 256 with 19 home runs and 56 RBIs. So, you know, middle of the pack when it comes to a lot of the stuff here. But I think he was injured earlier in the year. So, um, so he'd probably be in the 30s right now in home runs. He'd probably be close to 100 RBIs, if not over it by now. His batting average would probably be about 20 points higher. you know, but that's baseball. You do get dinged up from time to time, and you do end up time on the injured list. And congrats to me for not calling it the disabled list without intentionally saying disabled list in the statement that I just made. Um, you know, but but right now the Braves are 2 games in front of the Mets, and you know, you could really for the Phillies, you could really put a nail in the coffin. I mean, they got so many injuries. And they got Whit Merrifield as well. I don't know how he's doing with Atlanta, but I kind of joke about Whit Merrifield, but I can't complain that he got released by the Phillies. I can't say a bad thing about Whit Merrifield. I said that on a Facebook group that I was in. I said, you know what? He's a good dude. I heard him on Preston and Steve during spring training. Um, you know, good conversation, all that stuff. And it just didn't work out because he was a platoon player or a super platoon, if you want to call it that, a super sub, but he wasn't producing. And there's other super subs or platoon players that are getting the time that they thought when they signed him he would get. It's just just the way things go sometimes, and he's not I don't think that he's really complaining. He's thankful that he got signed right away by the Braves after Arcia got injured. But um, you know, I just think that this is do or die for the Braves. And now the Phillies, if I'm not mistaken, let me just check something here for you guys because actually I should get my other story ready here. let me just check one thing here. Um, okay, so tomorrow, and if you were outside the Philadelphia market, you can watch the game on TBS. We will be watching it on NBC Sports Philadelphia. Um, Zach Wheeler pitches for the Phillies tomorrow night against Reynaldo Lopez. Reynaldo Lopez is coming off of the DL. He had a forearm strain. He's 7-4 with a 2.06 ERA this year. He hasn't pitched since July 28th. So he took precautionary action there, gave him a couple weeks off, and he's coming back tomorrow. Wednesday is Aaron Nola and Max Fried, and Thursday is Christopher Dirty Sanchez pitching against Spencer Swellenbach. So that's your matchup for these three games. And also, just to let you know, Thursday's game is on Fox. So for us in Philadelphia, that's Fox 29 here in Philadelphia. Check your channel guide for what the Fox television network is in your area. So, but Philly's got a chance to put the final nail in the coffin on the Atlanta Braves. And if they do, they'll be 10 up on the Braves if they sweep. But, just take 2 or 3. Because 2 and 3 will put you like 9 up. Um, so we're going with our best 3 pitchers, basically. Um, you know, um, well, the best 3 pitchers right now, because you have Friday. Um, the other 2 starters are Taiwan Walker, and you did have Tyler Phillips in there for a while, but it's possible we had the return of Ranger Suarez on Saturday because he did pitch a simulated game yesterday morning. I didn't hear what what the results of that simulated game were, but they also, from what I saw on Twitter yesterday morning, they even were simulating. They were pumping in crowd noise into the stadium early in the morning, uh, like they were in 2020. But but they do have the that option of using him on Saturday, and probably wait until Saturday before they take a guy down to the minors. Probably the new guy that they just brought up the other day, whoever his name is. But um, Braves are not getting any breaks. Well, they're getting breaks, but broken hands, broken wrists, torn ACLs, torn UCLs, you name it. And, even though they are the number one enemy right now, even though they're not geographically as close as the New York Mets, you know, you do have to, um, say, like Mike said, you don't wish that on any other team, even your worst enemy. But you can't feel sorry for the Braves because they have all these injuries. You gotta take it to them, get a couple of quick runs, get up early, especially on a pitcher with a 2.06 ERA that's coming back off of the DL or IL. There I go. I messed up. Okay. But if you get that opportunity, jump on them and play like you were earlier in the year where you would quickly get to a 3-0 lead in the first inning and you would just pile on towards the end. So at least that's what I say. So, but we'll be live while the game's going on. I will not be sidecasting it. I may end up doing um, may sidecast on Thursday because I will move to that area behind me because I had the TV back over there because I had to move it out of that corner because of exterminators coming in um, with everything going on because other people were complaining about roaches and shit in this building. And basically, what they were doing was we have to make sure that this side of the building that I'm in, and Mike knows what I'm talking about in terms of placement of building. Um, my part of the building would get the roaches and other critters that are in the walls of this building because of the fact that if if you have the all that stuff there, they're going to try to go somewhere else to try to survive. And you know when the exterminators have been in other parts of the building, they're obviously going to migrate over to here because it wasn't being done. It wasn't done until last week or 2 weeks ago, and then a follow up last week. So, but um, but Thursday we will be back over in this area back here, partially off the screen, and it'll be part sidecast, part uh, regular news to get you through uh, your Thursday night. So so go Phils, and thankfully the Phillies are on the road, so I don't have to wear that god awful powder blue uniform. But anyways, from a god awful uniform to a god awful team, the Washington Commanders, even though they're probably going to be on the rise this year. They'll probably win a few games that they wouldn't have won last year, but probably um, won't be a playoff contender at least this year. But the Commanders announced today that Jaden Daniels, the number 2 pick, is officially the starting quarterback for Week 1, and that is an absolute shocker. Hashtag sarcasm. Uh, um, so the Commanders made it official. Dane Quinn, the Commanders coach, announced the move on Monday. Um, and Daniels had been working with the first team exclusively in training camp for the past 3 weeks. Um, Before that time, Marcus Mariota was usually first to go in at quarterback, though Daniels would take snaps with the starters in both full team work and 7-on-7 drill because you got to get him used with the personnel as well because you know that eventually, you um, even if you did have Marcus Mariota starting, you do know that eventually Jaden Daniels has to take over, whether it's week 2, week 5, the week after the bye week. He's eventually taking over. And that's exactly what Bill Belichick said about first round quarterbacks in general as well. Because he was on the Pat McAfee show today, and I actually had the Pat McAfee show on. And granted, I couldn't really listen to him because I was working, but you can tell the difference with Bill Belichick from Patriots head coach to man of the media. And I think you could see the difference even last year when he was a guest on College Game Day during the Army before the Army Navy game because that was you know that's his baby, the Army Navy game. He will talk to you about Army and Navy sports till the cows come home. And but but I think what may happen, and I'm sure I'll be wrong. It may be that if you think about it, you know, Belichick may like the talking to the media and talking in the media, and maybe doing that for the rest of his career. Who knows? He might want to go back to coaching, get those 15 wins that he needs to pass Don Shula, but he may never get an opportunity again. Who knows? I mean, you never know. But um, but But Jaden Daniels did start both preseason games. Mariota was unavailable this past Saturday in Miami because of a hamstring issue that didn't impact Daniels' status. So, um, but in the two preseason games, I think they probably just played them a little bit, like maybe a quarter here, a quarter each game or something. I'm just speculating. I didn't watch either of the Commanders games. He threw for 123 yards on 12 of 15 passing. He did score in a 3-yard touchdown run against the Jets on his own read, so he does have a touchdown in the silly season, but it was a rush. Um, um, Now, since his arrival, Daniels has been praised by his teammates and coaches for his ball placement and accuracy. Both have shown up in games as well. His work ethic, his poise in the pocket, and personality that draws in teammates. Quinn has said Daniels has a mix of humility and swagger. And you got to have a combination of both because you're going to have good games, you're going to have bad games. We know that all too well. Um, but Jaden Daniels is the number one quarterback. He will be starting opening week, whoever they play. You know, um, I apologize for yawning there, but you know, but that's what's expected now from first round draft picks, especially if you're a top five pick. You're expected to start week one, and it isn't like it used to be where you would sit most of the year or the entire season, or in the case of Aaron Rodgers, because of Brett Favre, 3 or 4 years. Jaden Love, Jalen, Jordan Love. Jordan Love sat as a first round pick for 3 or 4 years because of Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers wasn't threatening to retire as much as Brett Favre was. Aaron Rodgers was too busy with his ayahuasca trips, literally and figuratively. But that's right. I went to wear my ayahuascas for lover shirt. Oh well, forgot about that. But um, but yeah. So we'll see what happens here, and hopefully Jaden Daniels has a good year, but not a great year, especially against our Eagles. Um, Hopefully the Eagles get 2 wins from Washington, and 2 from Dallas, and 2 from the Giants, and 1 from the other 11 teams. And the opponent this Saturday, that would make them 20-0, even though technically it's 17-0. And then you have 2 wins in January, and that final game in New Orleans, and then we get another parade in Philly. But I will tell you this as well before I get to my next story. I am going to try to figure out when I'm going to have my prediction sure to go wrong episode. And this is something that I did the last couple of years as an audio only podcast. But I haven't figured out when I'm going to do it. Um, Now, apparently, Twitch did not like your nickname, which I am going to allow because I understand what you're trying to say here. Uh, uh, don't we own the Redskins, aka the football team, aka the Commanders, aka the Commies? Um, for the most part, yes. If you remember 2 years ago when the Eagles went to the Super Bowl, there was that flukish loss where um, there was a 15-yard penalty for a late hit, which was a bit bogus, but you had to call it. Um, I think we did lose at least one of the games last year. Uh, I don't care. You know, I'm not going to, I'm not going to hold it against you that you said that. I understood what you meant when you said that, and I approved it. Um, I think if SJ was here and she was moderating, she would have allowed it as well because she is a football fan. She'd do what you're trying to say there if she was watching or moderating, I should say. But yeah, but a lot of but we've really owned the Giants. You know, that last game, that was the last game last year. That was just, yeah. But we've owned the Giants the last few years, definitely. Uh, Washington occasionally is a pain in our ass, even though we have owned them for the most part. Dallas is back and forth. It's been splitting that series for the last 5, 6, 7 years, it seems. So, but um, it's the NFC East. If you really think about it in the months after the fact, when a 2-9 team beats a 9-2 team, you're just like, it's the NFC East. I mean, it's kind of like how certain teams just find a way to beat other certain teams. It just happens. So, um, now I saw this story today, and I did not watch the beginning of the Dan Levitard show. It airs live on YouTube at 9 a.m. and it's on the DraftKings Network channel, which is on my Samsung TV. And there's other ways that you can watch it if you don't have a Samsung TV. There's Roku, there's this, there's that, there's DraftKingsNetwork.com or whatever it is. But um, Dan Levitard interviewed Tua Tagovailoa. Now, I don't know if this was a live interview or if it was taped so they can run it today, but apparently Tua does not like Brian Flores, and I can understand why once I tell you why. And I think we know why Brian Flores got fired, and his allegations of racism is bullshit. But I'm not going to lie. If 99 times out of 100, if somebody claims racism, I would not be surprised if it's true. But and you just wonder, is he going to get another head coaching job, even though he is the defensive coordinator for Minnesota for the second straight year. Um, so Tua didn't hold back when asked to describe the difference between hiring a coach who believes in him versus one that did not. The Miami Dolphins quarterback has flourished in 2 seasons under Mike McDaniel, probably learning the Pythagorean theorem or anything like that, because Mike McDonald is a weird one. McDaniel, I should say. Um, but he's flourished so much that Tua was rewarded this offseason with a 4-year, $212.4 million extension. And basically, these extensions, for the most part, if you're good enough and the team wants to keep you, you're basically next in line to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, which will last a couple of weeks until the next guy signs. And that cycle will begin after the Super Bowl, probably. Um, Now, he had a far different experience under Brian Flores, his coach for the first 2 seasons of his career. Now, in an interview that was shared Monday on the aforementioned Dan Levitard show with Stu Gatz, Tua said that he began to believe he didn't belong as an NFL quarterback under Flores, and then that McDonald has had to train that out of him the past 2 seasons. So I mean, this sounds like a millennial or Gen Z thing where I don't like the way you're treating me, I'm leaving. And this is something that we were talking about in chat the other day, uh, in in a voice chat that was in where it just seems like Gen Z and all this, they're like, oh, you don't like me. I can only work 4 days of work because I got to have all my free time and all this. Well, I said to in that chat, you know, you only want to work 32 hours a week. You should only get paid for 32 hours. You shouldn't get paid for 40. You know, but you can manipulate the the hourly wage scale if you want as well. But the thing is, if I if my current job at Redacted and SJ, I explained to SJ why I call it company Redacted. I explained that to her over the weekend. Um, it's I totally lost my train of thought here now. Thank you. Uh, but um, I know Mike won't be any help either, so I'll just move on, or he'll come back to me when I least expect it to. Oh, the Gen Z thing. You know, oh, they don't like me. This is too toxic of an environment. But if I'm working 4 days a week, if you're going to allow me to have 3 days off in a given week, then make me work 10 hours a day because I do not want to give 8 hours to corporate, no matter who the corporate entity is, whether it's Redacted Corporation or any other major corporation. Because if you only work 32 hours, they're going to pay you 32 hours at your rate of pay. They're not going to adjust your pay because, oh, we need to make this the same paycheck every week and adjust it. No. Corporate greed is at an all-time high. And you got to be careful what you wish for, because if you do say something like that and you do get that 32-hour week, you're going to be making 8 less hours on your paycheck, in my opinion. Even though I'm sure, legislature will say, well, you got to pay them as if it's 40. No, they don't. And also, if you have a union job like I do, union jobs, union contract agreements, the collective bargaining agreements supersede federal labor laws for the most part. So, but it does. I mean, this does seem like it's um, it had the potential of being a Gen Z thing or millennial or whatever, where he basically was going to be like, you know, I'm leaving the NFL, goodbye, But I think you had somebody who was not much older than him. He's he is a nerd, but he's smart enough that he figured out what he could do to win him back as a quarterback, as a person who can succeed in the NFL, as opposed to a guy that was being torn down over every little thing. And it's um, kind of like a certain manager whose name is going to be redacted as well, because if I mention that manager's name, that may give away, because you never know who will pop in here. Because redacted manager's name, and Mike might have an idea who this person is. They would find any way possible to tear you down, even when you're having a perfect observation. It's like, well, I just didn't like this, you know. And Mike might have an idea who that is, but uh, you can text me. Just don't put it in this chat. But anyways, what Tua said in the interview was, To put it in simplest terms, if you woke up every morning and I told you that you suck at what you did, that you don't belong during doing what you do, that you shouldn't be here, that this guy should be here, that you haven't earned this right. And then you have somebody else come in and tell you, dude, you are the best fit for this, he said in the interview. How would it make you feel listening to one or the other? You see what I'm saying? The one guy saying you don't belong here, you're not an NFL quality quarterback, and yet a guy here that is an offensive guru. And also, Brian Flores is a defensive coach. So even though I think he was the guy who drafted him, I think that he didn't have good enough assistant coaches that could find his best qualities as a quarterback and maximize those talents like Mike McDaniel did. Um, uh, Two also said, and then you hear it no matter what it is, the good or the bad, you hear it more and more, you start to believe that. I don't care who you are. You could be president of the United States, you have a terrible person telling you things that you don't want to hear or probably shouldn't be hearing. You're going to start believing that about yourself. And so that's what sort of ended up happening. It's basically been 2 years of training that out of not just me, but a couple of guys as well who have been here my rookie year all the way until now. Now, as a coach, what you need to realize is some people get motivated by hearing you suck and stuff like that. And some people you will lose because of that. Some people do respond well to negative reinforcement. Some people, like Tua, need positive reinforcement. Now, occasionally you still have to do the negative reinforcement, but you have to know the personality of the person, and basically from what it looks like, it's grounds of why Brian Flores got fired. Even though you think about it, it was a shocking move that the Dolphins were in the playoff hunt until the final week. I think that's what happened that year before he was fired. But um, like some of the things that were going on under the Brian Flores regime, Tua was replaced twice in the fourth quarter of games by veteran Brian Fitzpatrick. Then in 2021, there was speculation the Dolphins were interested in trading for quarterback Deshaun Watson, and I'm sure that he could have found a place that was similar to Orchids of Asia when Robert Kraft got his crafty. Uh, but you know, we joke about that, and I told you guys that I am going to be all over the Cleveland Browns Twitter telling them about the I Love Massage place on North 9th Street around the corner from my office building. And I probably gave away where I may work at, but oh well. Now, the Dolphins fired Flores after the 21 season, replacing him with McDaniel. I keep saying McMichael, but McDaniel. Um, so, in the first season under McDaniel, Tua threw for 3,500 yards and 25 touchdowns despite missing 4 games with concussions. Last season, he led the NFL with 46-24 passing yards, and that's a lot because of Tyreek Hill trying to run away from his baby mamas in the process. Um, and he also threw for a career best 29 touchdowns and earned his first Pro Bowl selection. Um, Mike, you are not even close. I was talking about the redacted company. So Um, Now, Tua had largely declined. I think Mike just had the light bulb go off and it lit up the entire neighborhood. But you'll see why I'm saying redacted name. But um, Tua had largely declined to comment about the relationship with Flores since the former head coach was fired in January 22. 3 months after Flores was fired, the quarterback was asked specifically what he would consider their relationship to be. Tua had said, "That's a big question. Well, I'll tell you this: I'm very thankful they drafted me and came here to play for and to come here to the Dolphins. That's what I'd say." So it's like, I'll just say something just to be PC here. But um, now the Dolphins only faced Flores once, a 16-10 win over the Steelers in 22, when Flores was the linebackers coach. After the game, Tua was asked whether he spoke to Flores. His answer was terse, and he said, "Nope." So when McDaniel was hired in March of 22, he showed Tua a 700 play highlight reel of what he believed the quarterback did well. McDaniel's insistence that he could succeed with Tua was also an integral part of the hiring process. So I think I think what we're seeing here, even with this interview that Dan Levitard had. Now, granted, Dan Levitard show is based out of Miami, but they too do tend to go national. They do have their regular hosts, just like every other show, but they do have their, but they will trend towards the Miami teams when they're doing well, like the Florida Panthers when they won the Stanley Cup. Um, um, Now, while his first 3 years in the league were marred by roster and staff turnover, the past three have been rooted in continuity. Since McDaniel's hiring, the Dolphins have employed the same head coach, offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, marking the only time Tua has played consecutive years in the same system at any point in his professional or college career. Now, granted, Nick Saban was always there in Alabama, but you had a different guy running the offense every year. I think one year was Lane Kiffin. I think Steve Sarkisian did a year. I may be getting the OCs messed up, but what do you expect from me? But um, now Kevin O'Connell chimed in on this today when asked about Tua's comments, and he said, "I don't particularly have a comment on something that took place with another team, and rightfully so, because of the fact that you're should be more worried about your team." Um, and he also said, "I don't like to comment on comments of other players on other teams, but I can just tell you that I know that players Flo works with, meaning Flores, and he's got great relationships there." Uh, uh, and he said he really has, meaning Flores. "I know Minnesota's heard a lot of them talk about how much they enjoy playing for him and how much I enjoy working with him every day. And that's all I can really comment on. I'd just like to leave it at that." Now, the thing is, and I will say this, um, sometimes when you have when you have a head coach, a first-time head coach, you find out a head coach is not head coaching material. Some may be, and some just get a bad rap. I think what happened now that we know this interview that happened this morning, I think that what we found out is why Brian Flores got fired after this team was this close to making the playoffs in 2021 or 2020. We saw what we did see what was going on. Now, could you say that he's not head coach quality? Probably, because you got to be, even though you're known for defense, you have to be the leader of all sides of the team, offense, defense, and special teams. I mean, Nick Sirianni's be learning that this year because he's not going to be calling plays this year. That's going to be Kellen Moore's job, and he's basically the overseer, the CEO of the actual team on the field. And but I think that Mike McDaniel has proven himself to be a damn good coach, and I think that Brian Flores could get another job, but you have to question if he's head coach material. You have to question, and Mike is agreeing with me on Mike McDaniel. But I wonder um, with Brian Flores if he is head coaching material. And there is no shame in going to be a head coach and failing, unless you're Rich Kotite, where you just disappeared off the face of the earth after you uh, went 1-15 with the Jets. But there is no shame in failing as a head coach because you can still. That was the only name I can think of that was a head coach, and then he disappeared. You know who he is. You're just like me. You want to deny that he even existed. But anyways, um, you know, maybe he gets another chance. I don't know. And it may be that because he claimed racism from NFL head coaches, and in a way, he does have a point from when the Giants brought him in. I think it was the Giants that brought him in because they had to meet the Rooney Rule. And the Rooney Rule is you have to interview at least two minorities for your position of a head coach or a GM. And somebody leaked that Brian Daboll already got the job, but they were going through the motions of getting a second minority into the Giants complex for the interview, or through Zoom, since that's what they turned into with a lot of their interviews. But there are a lot of things that will tell you no, he's not going to have another head coaching job. Between the lawsuit, which sounds more and more frivolous, even though, you know, he was, I don't know if you want to say a victim of the Rooney Rule. If you want to say it, fine. If you take offense with it, hopefully you understand I'm not saying it to make any offense of the whole process. But the fact that you receive a text that's saying Daboll already got the job, but um, but a lot of what they did here was, I don't think he gets another head coaching job. He might, but I mean, I think they're going to go with the flashy offensive coordinators that are out there. Maybe a flashy defensive coordinator. I don't think he's getting another shot as a head coach, but I've been wrong so many times it's not funny. So, uh, so, um, so that came up this morning, and I saw that. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I think I understand why he got fired now. At least now we know. 2 years after the fact, 3 years after the fact, whatever. Now, I saw this story, and this story, um, probably wouldn't make Sports Center, but it was on ESPN. It was on ESPN's website today, and I gotta mention this here because I gotta be the pig that I am. Former NFL player Gosder Cherilus, and if I had the sound drop, and I probably, even if I loaded my sound drops on EV Mux, it probably would have disappeared like my opening theme tonight. Um, because I would play the Conor McGregor, who the fuck is that guy drop. Um, Cherilus was arrested and charged with disorderly conduct after allegedly drunkenly hitting one man, and then, wait, there's more. He ended up urinating on another passenger during a flight from Boston to Dublin. And if I had, do I have a sound drop that I can use for that? Um, Seriously, um, that is, you know, and he has an excuse for it, but still, you're on a you're on a flight, and everything falls under federal guidelines once you step foot in the airport, or even onto the plane, even more so. But um, so Cherilus was a first round pick of the Lions in 2008. The sound of relief. Now, if the guy wanted a golden shower, then you just have to deal with, well, he wanted it versus what federal law would say. But, he just did what he did and whatever. So he also played with the Colts and the Bucks. He was arrested early Sunday after the Delta Airlines flight, and Delta already's had enough problems with um, delayed flights over the last month, especially that Windows thing, which I had to deny being a part of because I was conspicuously absent the day that that Windows problem came about because of my tooth. But um, but he was arrested when they returned to Boston Logan Airport or Logan International. You get the idea. Now, troopers ordered Cherilus, who lives in Wakefield near Boston, to leave the plane, but he became irate and uncooperative. Strike two. Actually, probably about strike seven, between hitting a person on the plane, pissing on another one, and all the other things. So he was then arrested on charges of disorderly conduct and disturbing a flight crew. And even if he wasn't, even if he didn't punch a flight staff in terms of um, the cart people, whatever the correct term is for it now, because it's not steward or stewardess anymore, because God forbid you say those words now, but you get uh, and I don't want to say those people either, because it's like, what do you mean those people? But um, you know, but my brain's fried. So, but anyways, he appeared drunk when he boarded the plane. Allegedly argued with the flight crew about his seat. Okay, so that may even be disturbing a flight crew may come into play here. Uh, and an hour into the flight, urinated on an elderly passenger. Okay, so you piss on the elderly passenger and you hope he thinks that he pissed himself. Oh, but he then hit another passenger and took that passenger seat before passing out. So, and thankfully, I had not dealt with any of this bullshit on planes. Um, and maybe it's because I'm a real American. I fly American Airlines most of the time now, and it's nothing against Southwest. It's just that um, everything out of PHL, Philadelphia International for Southwest, you have to fly through Chicago, Nashville, or St. Louis. You don't get the direct flight from Philly to Vegas that American Airlines gives me from time to time. But um, um, now, Judge Deborah Del Vecchio told Charles, "It's pretty egregious what you did as a legend." No shit. Wait, don't say that. He might shit on the judge. He might have shit on the judge, or the next time he has to go to court. She may want a Pittsburgh platter or a Cleveland steamer. But anyways, Delta confirmed that there had been an unruly customer on the flight and that the other passengers were later flown to Dublin. The airline did not say how long the flight was delayed, but Charles said it was approximately 4 hours. Now I don't know if it's 4 hours to try to leave the first time for Dublin, but whatever. So the company said in a statement, Delta has a zero tolerance policy for unlawful behavior. So do all the other airlines with everybody going batshit crazy because of the pandemic, everything else. And we will cooperate with law enforcement to that end. We apologize to our customers for the delay in their travel. So, but the one thing is, you want to play fuck around and find out on an airplane. Not only are you going to get hit with federal crimes, you know, you're probably never going to be able to fly on a plane again. And is it really worth it? Because you're also delaying other people for 5, 6 hours because you want to be an asshole, or you had um, or like he said, um, Charles did say here that a sleeping medication I don't normally use, which resulted in the behavior that is not part of my. Uh, uh, so, I mean, I can understand sitting there at the airport drinking for a couple hours because you got to be there 2 to 3 hours ahead of time, and you're usually bored out of your mind. Me, I just pop on the computer and I start working on something. Maybe I write an article, maybe I do something else. I don't know, but um, it did. It's just stupid, and but not as stupid as the next story that I have here, which is a segment that does come up from time to time, and I call it the stupid shit that I saw segment. Sometimes it's stupid haha. Sometimes it's Michael J. Fox shake my head worthy, and sometimes it's groan worthy. And this one tonight, this may be an all timer. And I am going to set this up here for you because I am going to share my screen with this one eventually. Uh, and Mike hasn't seen too many of these stupid shit that I saw segment because this is not something that I do every day because I'm not for every show because I'm not looking specifically for a weird story. This is just something that came up out of the blue. Actually, I found it on Instagram, and Mike may have already seen this because my Insta stories end up going to my Facebook stories. So I'm enlarging my screen here. Let me see if I can get rid of this banner. No. So the one thing is, even online gaming, um, they do have their no fun police causing putting you in timeout. I know even when I was playing more Rocket League, and the only reason why I haven't played Rocket League is because I had never installed it on the computer, and it used to be that I would play Rocket League and playing the 6 o'clock tournament every day because when I was on loan to another office, I would get done work at 5 o'clock. I'd get something to drink. I'd grab the controller. I'd load up Rocket League, which is basically soccer with cars, and I would just start playing. Well, one game that I tried to play once was Fortnite, and I played 2 rounds of it, and I uninstalled the game because I had no coordination whatsoever when it came to that game. And you get these little snot-nosed 9-year-old kids that sneak up behind you and shoot you and kill you. Well, one Fortnite player, now I don't know what the hell he did. He shared a screenshot of his account being banned, and the amount of days that he was banned left the Fortnite community shocked and questioning what he did. Now I'm going to share my screen. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this kid or person or adult, because I do have some friends that are adults that play Fortnite, and he was banned, a social ban active. He was banned for 2,912,958 days. Now, on the online multiplayer game, they do have their own code of conduct to ensure players compete in a safe and fun environment, and especially because you have age ranges from 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s probably to 9, 10, 11, 12-year olds. But they want to ensure a safe and fun environment. By now, it's clear that cheating, teaming, exploiting glitches, and even using Roblox exploits can impact your Fortnite account. Whatever that is, I don't care. I'm not really that much of a Fortnite player, and I enjoy watching other people play, but I just don't have the coordination for it. So, so just to let you know for those that are even watching after the fact, how long this ban is, if it's not a glitch, and I'll get into that part in a second. According to my calculations, if this is day one of the social ban, he is essentially banned for 7,975 years. That's what 2,912,950 days is in terms of years. 7,975 years. So, um, aside from the gameplay offenses, players can also receive a social ban, which, depending on the severity of their action, can depending losing access to voice and text chat features. Generally, this kind of ban lasts a week. However, one player has shocked the community by posting a screenshot of their account getting social banned for just under 3 million days. The user did not elaborate further on what they did to get such a lengthy ban, and it's also unknown whether this was a visual glitch. And the way things are, you never know. Somebody might have hacked into his account and probably said a few magic words that you shouldn't say, whether it's the magic words from Bull Durham or anywhere else. Um, But nonetheless, many players were stunned to see this, with some not hesitating to poke fun at the situation. And if I was a Fortnite player and I saw this, I probably would have said the same thing. Uh, one curious player joked, Did you declare war on a country? Meanwhile, another user couldn't help but wonder, what the fuck did you say? Did you channel your inner early COD, Call of Duty, BG, I don't know what that is, or Halo lobby voice? But they're all shooter games, so whatever BG is, you know, if SJ was here, she would tell me what BG is. But another player said, happy to see they are cracking down, but dang, what the hell was said? Um, now we know what the subject of the song. Now we know who was the subject of the song in the year 2525. Uh, with that, I got to give you one of these. Um, no, I don't have it. All right, never mind. I was going to give you a but I don't have it on here. But yeah, so in the comments, one player even suggested that they have their account passed down through generations so that their voice would be heard one day. Um, one chimed in, I don't know what you did, but I'm already siding with Epic. Epic is the game distributor of Fortnite and other games on that platform. That's where I get that's where I downloaded tried to play Fortnite and failed miserably twice and said the hell with it. Um, also um, Rocket League. I have a pinball game that I play on there. Um, um, Following this, some players claim that toxic players deserve such punishment. Just a note to be kind. Not everybody who plays the game is being competitive and uses it from a break from real life. That's me. Um, Overall, this should serve as a reminder for players not to break the game's rules or the distributor's rules. And after all, it would be a shame to lose a Fortnite account with skins that will never return over something trivial. So that is what happened, and that is the stupid shit that I saw tonight because this guy will not be his acts is his account as of right now. And this may be why that they put 2,912,958 days. The account will not be available until the year 9999. Some of the stupid shit that I find, let me tell you, that is the stupid shit I saw segment. So, uh, so, so just so you guys know, this week will be Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Tomorrow's article, I'm going away from the DRF. I'm going to pick a race from Finger Lakes, which appears to be pretty competitive. Hopefully, we can get a winner. Uh, we just missed on a 25-1 shot at Del Mar yesterday. And the new neighbor probably found out that I'm a horse racing junkie because I started yelling real loud, come on, six, come on, six. So that may be something there because I think there's like a family. I think there's parents and at least one kid in there. So I do have to kind of be careful with what I do. Uh, I try not to be too loud anyway, but things happen. Once in a while you do something. It's like okay, you let it go. But like for example, yesterday I had the assholes above me, and they had a kid over, and I think it was more on Saturday. All I heard was the kid jumping up and down and banging the whole time for like a half an hour nonstop. But uh, uh, But if it was me and I played that pick five at Woodbine, I couldn't play because I didn't have enough money in the account at the time, or I was trying to make sure I had the money last for the whole day until they canceled after the fifth race. I could have been in line for a huge pick five payout at Woodbine. And even with the first four legs that I got right for a 20-cent increment, and it would have cost me, let me pull up the calculator again here. For a $21.60 ticket, where I got the first four legs right, with that all burger at the end because they did not run the sixth race because of the rain and the track. And I will also contend the Lasix issue because, like, for example, the Tampa Bay Derby, when they delayed that over a half an hour because of the tote delay, the horses in the Tampa Bay Derby did not run on Lasix because it's all part of HISA and the whole watchdog thing that they have with the United States horse racing industry. Whereas since Woodbine is in Canada, obviously, totally different country, they can do whatever they want. So, um, so since they had to cancel the races, which I think is more than just holes in the track, as the one guy was saying to me, and I could see them trying to do what they were trying to do to drain the water from the heavy rain that they had and the lightning and everything else. Um, I would have had, if I played that $21 ticket. Now, mind you, I started the day with about 40 in the account. So you see why I didn't play it, even after I hit that first race. I had to make sure I had enough money that I could last most of the day and not have to put money into the account. But when you start hitting, you hit the first two races, you hit the double. Now I have an extra $100 in my account. I now have an opportunity to play pick fours if I had wanted to, but I didn't. But the pick five, where I didn't have enough, I didn't feel comfortable playing with it with the money, and like I said earlier in the show, I did have an a moment last summer or last spring while I was visiting my dad when he was in the hospital. I told him, I said, I'm keeping track of what's going on at parks today. I was just playing win wagers by did my sheet here just like I would if I was playing pick fours and pick fives, and I would have had the late pick five at Parks and would have paid almost $1,000. Well, this pick five would have paid for that 20-cent increment, which would have all the combinations was a $21.60 ticket with that all burger because I would have had two. You would have had to pay me out twice here. I had a payout of almost $600 that I could have had. Now, like I said in the beginning, uh, yelling at clouds, but I knew that I was razor sharp with Woodbine early on, and if they had run the rest of the races, I probably had a great opportunity to clean the hell up on those races that day. But they did cancel after the fifth race. They will be running on Friday. I think what they're going to do is they're bringing the four races back. And I think what they're going to do is they're going to have the post positions exactly the same as what they had on Friday or on this past Saturday. So um, you'll have a 13. Well, I wonder if that. Well, there was one horse that was scratched in the um, that was scratched in the King's Plate. I I guess since the race didn't run, I guess he could run again if he really wanted to. I don't see. That's the thing here, because so many different things happen that I don't have answers for you. And that's why I prefer to be called the degenerate of Bleacher Brothers and not the expert, because I'm far from an expert, and I'm always learning new stuff every day. And it's something everybody should do out there, and learn something new every day, even if it's something you know something mundane or something silly like somebody getting banned almost 3 million days on Fortnite, or Mike finding out that I could have had a $600 winning ticket, but I didn't because I was trying to make my money manifest the rest of the day, which I was able to kind of do. But it's okay. I'm not complaining too much, but I will be yelling at the clouds, you motherfucker. But you know so anyways, that's going to be it for now. And we will be back tomorrow night at 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, on YouTube, on Twitch, on X. I do appreciate everybody that's watching. Everybody on X, thank you. Uh, I don't have that page up here, but I do appreciate everybody there. Mike, Bank Boy, anybody who snuck in, and anybody who's watching after the fact, because one thing is, from the very first stream I did, I've always acknowledged the fact that it's more than just a live stream. I know that you can watch this anytime you want. I do appreciate everybody. I say it every time. And SJ and I were talking about, like, you know plans I have for the show and things like that. And yeah, and and I'm not gonna lie, I do this for fun. But if it leads to something, then great. And if it doesn't lead to anything, that's fine too, because this is my decompression mechanism after a long day at work. So, but I do appreciate everybody. And the one thing I did say to SJ is I need to stop the 25-minute rambles trying to close the show. And that's more me than her, because I am my own worst critic. And, you know, and if somebody were to tell me it's horrible, tell me why it's horrible. If you're someone that I can trust with, someone who can give me brutal, honest opinions, because, I do want to improve and I want to grow this base even more. So, Mike, thank you. Uh, Bank Boy, thank you. Everybody on X, thank you. And thank you to anybody who's watching after the fact, because, it is available for you anytime on YouTube, X, or Twitch, all at Joe Quills. So we're going to call it a night. And I'm going to watch that last race at Assiniboia Downs. I don't know where they are in the program. I don't know how far behind they are, but I do have a long shot here. So, Mike, you might want to tune into TVG just in case that long shot wins, because you might be hearing me uh, from your apartment, me screaming at the long shot. So if you want to know what that long shot is, quickly go over to bleacherbrothers.com, scroll to the bottom, and well, it's not Vegas baby related, but well, in terms of the stats, it would be Vegas related, uh, but with the time, with it being a month away and having to be in Philadelphia for the beginning of my vacation, it's just not working out. So, and obviously, I'm not going to go over Christmas week, but you know, maybe a trip to Atlantic City that week. But, anyways, thank you so much for joining me tonight, and we'll do it live again tomorrow night at 9 o'clock, and maybe we'll have a Phillies win that we'll be watching. So, have a great night, everybody, and we'll catch you tomorrow night. And bleacherbrothers.com for all your sports needs. Good night, everybody.